Dr. Regina Bradley, and this is the 4991 series, episode number 2. And you know we had to do it for the ladies one time. The all women's panel. Shout out to Esther Arma. I had to bite you a little bit, sis. We're talking about TLC's Crazy Sexy Cool. I don't know how I feel that it's 20. So joining us today, you know, we got some serious brilliance with us today. We have the one and only Dr. Brittney Cooper, assistant professor of history and women's and gender studies at Rutgers University. We have Dr. Ruth Nicole Brown, who's at University of Illinois. We have Mrs. Bianca Keaton. And we have the one and only, the fabulous Ms. Brittany Manson. What's going on, ladies? How y'all doing?
What's up?
How are you?
All this beautifulness. I'm excited for this conversation. So, you know, it's kind of like how we do the outcasted conversations a little bit. How did you guys get put on to TLC's Crazy Sexy Cool? So let's go across the screen. Bianca, let's start with you.
Oh, man. I think it was about like 7th grade or something like that for me. And at the time, you know, we still weren't up on technology all like that, so you were still recording the songs on the dub tape, you know, with the little spitballs in the top of it. But that's how we started with it, me and some of my girlfriends. And then somebody actually got the like the full tape, and we played that thing out. We wore it out. I think we might have broke it, but it was awesome. You know, I really felt a sense of empowerment listening to the music, and I really appreciate the opportunity to have this conversation because I went back and listened to the album, and it just took me down memory lane, all the interludes and the hits, everything.
Awesome. Dr. Cooper?
Yeah, I was a freshman in high school, and I was already a huge fan of TLC because of Who on the TLC Tip, which was just my joint. And so this was like an eagerly anticipated album, and I have a vivid memory of the Christmas of 1994, getting the CD to this and like going to my cousin's house and us holding up in her room and just playing this album all the way through. So, yeah, that's how I got put on.
Dr. Brown?
Yes, I was in high school, senior year, I guess, or a little bit after that. But yeah, I fell in love with them the first time I saw them, which had to be on my parents' television with the first music video. I saw them. I saw myself. It was fun. It was colorful. And I loved them. So yeah, Crazy. By the time I went right along with them from the we was on the tip to Crazy Sexy Cool. Let's go. Like, what we about to do now? Loved it.
Looking. Yes.
Yep. And they told us what we were going to do, too.
That's right. Hey, Manson? Woo!
I was in the 5th grade when Crazy Sexy Cool dropped. And I remember, on the TLC Tip, I remember that dropping, and they had on the overalls and the glasses, real, you know, just fun, kind of bubblegum-ish. But Crazy Sexy Cool was on some stuff that I wasn't accustomed to in the 5th grade. Like, they were talking about some stuff, like some real deal, like woman stuff. Ooh. And I remember saving up my little allowance money and dragging my dad to Turtles music. If you're from the A, you know what Turtles music is. Dragging him to Turtles music so I can get that cassette tape. And I remember sneaking, couldn't listen out loud because, you know, they were talking about some stuff. You know, and going back to the playgrounds, like, oh, did you hear that interlude when she was in the bathroom? So, yeah. yeah. Clearly something that I should have probably not been listening to in the 5th grade, but I was hooked after that.
Yeah, I was in the 5th grade, too, and I was not about that CD life. That was grown folks stuff, getting CDs. So I had my little tape that I shared with my girlfriends, like, okay, you're going to get it this week. And then I need you to give me that thing back so I can record it or something. Right. But yeah, just, you know, it was just such a, I know, it seems like it's redundant to say it was just a sexy album. You know what I'm saying? Because as a 5th grader, I would hope that I don't know what a sexy album is. You know what I'm saying? But it kind of leads into the first part of this discussion. You know what I'm saying? Like, what is the significance of the album being called Crazy Sexy Cool? You know what I'm saying? You got a lot of stuff going on, and Dr. Cooper, I want you to kind of pop this conversation off because, you know, this is what you do. But what do you think the significance of the title Crazy Sexy Cool means in terms of how we understand women's identities during this point of history and pop culture?
Right. I mean, I think that it's partly about the significance of TLC to helping us like articulate a sort of young black women's subjectivity in the early 1990s. So they came out, they were playful, they were cool, right? They were sex positive. They said, you know, we will ask for what we want. And this album was, you know, them saying we've grown up a little bit more. So it was a way to sort of say, we're still playful, we're still cool, we're still funny, we're still crazy. We like to have a good time, but we're also sexy. And it's the visual imagery of that Creep video, right, where they're dancing in all the colors of pajamas, right? You know, and so they just, you know, I mean, there's something sort of about that silkiness and that sexiness, but they still have this kind of urbaneness to them as well. So yeah, they took us on a journey of helping us to grow up too. That album is a bit more political, you know, because it deals with issues of AIDS and safe sex in a really particular kind of way. But also, this is them talking about the DL on Creep before the DL became what we think of it as today. So it's also talking about grown women having complicated sex lives, right? And so I think that, you know, we don't talk a lot about generational articulations of black female subjectivity, but if there's any sort of forthright shift that's coming out of hip-hop culture, that's coming out of pop culture in the 1990s, like TLC is on the forefront of really deliberately putting forth a kind of articulation. So Crazy Sexy Cool, I think, becomes a way to say black women are multiple, we're many kinds of things all at the same time, and there's something that everybody can relate to.
Dope. Anybody else want to weigh in on what they think the significance is?
Personally, it's just funny. I was thinking about it earlier, like the terms that guys use to describe us. What are the three main terms guys use? Oh, she crazy. Yeah, she's sexy. No, she cool. You know, it was just really funny to me that, you know, that they took these terms like that we use every day to describe women, especially African American women, and combine it into like one person. When I think of Crazy Sexy Cool now, like she was one person. These are just all the characteristics and the aspects of that make up a woman. You know, so that's just my opinion.
I mean, I think it's also important that sexy is an anchor point for that too, though. That it's not coolness, right? So I think you're right, Brittany, that it's that it is all one woman, but it's all multiple women. But it's important, I think, that they're saying that sexy is the anchor point, and it's flanked, right, by these other kinds of things. And so for me, it's a question about like what kind of possibilities does anchoring black women in sexiness, but saying that's not all there is to us, like allow for, right?
I mean, but doesn't this, you know, that whole trope though of having like this one woman being crazy, sexy, and cool, it's not necessarily something that happens with TLC. I mean, that kind of falls into a line of Pat, you know, the blues women, for example, kind of fulfill all of that. You know, you think about Ma Rainey and Bessie Smith and all of these blues women. They've been kind of dictated by those particular scripts during their time period. You know, part of me thinks about if this is a marketing ploy, right? Like this is the way we're going to market to, you know, the specific type of audience, which also asks the question, who is the audience for Crazy Sexy Cool? Does anybody want to jump in there?
It surely wasn't us at the time. It surely wasn't us. But I think that, you know, like after watching the movie Crazy Sexy Cool, like you're looking, like it provided a new lens to listen to the album, because like you're like, these are kids, like, you know, they were young women, but in so many ways they were kids trying to figure out who they were. And I think that the reason why it covered so many age groups of women and girls is because we're constantly on this search to figure out exactly who we are, and I think that it just fit for a lot of us, no matter where we were, the themes that they talked about.
Yeah. Ruth, I actually want you to jump in here a little bit because, this idea when we first are introduced to TLC on the TLC tip, as Dr. Cooper pointed out, it's really sounds like we're calling you that, be Dr. Cooper, but I'm trying to keep my Brittany's separate.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, like this, you have this personification of black girlhood at the end of the 20th century, right? And I'm curious to hear, what your thoughts are in terms of what does Crazy Sexy Cool do for that transition, kind of like that coming of age from being this kind of all-American black girl group to this group of young black women talking about these sensitive issues of sexuality and all that other good stuff.
Well, I felt like Crazy Sexy Cool was marketed to me. I was older. I had been a fan. I was going to buy what they were selling. I was at the concert when they was with MC Hammer. I saw them come out. I caught the condoms in the audience. Like, yeah, this shit was, I was in it. So Crazy Sexy Cool to me, what I appreciated was, that was what we were doing. I had a crew. We had an acronym. We were each different personalities and we're known for different things and different values and we presented differently. Some of us had long hair, some had the short hair. That style. Some of us, so I guess when I hear Crazy Sexy Cool, I was excited because one thing I could count on TLC for sure, which I knew from, just being a fan, was that I was going to get this familiar terminology, but a unique sort of representation, embodiment of that through their performances, live television, through the music. What kind of crazy were they going to be? And we had 3 different takes on that. What was sexy going to look like? It was going to be at least 3 different ways. And they were going to be all together. They were going to be in communication with each other. They were going to support each other. Everybody's styles were a little bit different, but, everybody could be there. So for me, that was what was exciting. And I guess once you got into it, like once you got into the music, for me, it was impossible to be in that space and not feel the power of being able to choose, right? Which is what we were already doing. So it was just real cool to be able to have a soundtrack to play when we was creeping or whatever we were doing.
Well, for me, what Crazy Sexy Cool did is it kind of let me know that women have choices in what they could be. Like, I was younger, but I have older parents. So I grew up with a mom who, practiced, being seen and not heard. We really didn't talk about political issues. We just, do what we have to do as women. But with Crazy Sexy Cool, it was like I could be sexual through, like, Red Light Special and Let's Do It Again. I don't have to put up with certain things, like, in Switch. I can be politically aware or, health conscious with songs like Waterfalls. Like, it let me know that I could be just more than what our mothers were and our grandmothers were. Like, I actually have a voice. I can use it. And it just gave me choices as far as what I can be, personality-wise and just, as a woman.
We are, welcome back, Siobhan, Dr. Siobhan Carter-David, assistant professor of history and women and gender study at Southern Connecticut State University.
How you doing?
You join in here, like, what do you think the significance of Crazy Sexy Cool is in terms of how we understand young black women's identities at the end of the 20th century?
I think for me, so I'm sort of piggybacking on what some of the other women said. I was probably, I don't know, maybe a little bit younger, or maybe not. I was, I think, about maybe 15 when this album came out. And I think what it meant for me as, I'm probably outing myself to whoever might watch this, including my mother, I don't know. But our sexuality at the time. And I remember a lot of references to oral sex for women. And I remember having a lot of conversations with my friends around that. So I think it was about pleasure, and I think particularly as I remember my friends and I discussing the different tracks on the album around sex and it not being just about pleasing men. And I probably got that maybe from some of their earlier work too with the whole condom piece. I remember us carrying condoms around and it was cool. And I'm not even sure if we were having sex yet, but certainly by the time the second album came out, some of us were. But oral sex, and that it was okay to ask for it. And I don't think I was much older before I realized that was taboo, because the boys seemed to be a part of that too. And I'm not sure if they were listening to the album and thought it was okay as well. So I remember that was definitely a takeaway point for many of us about this film, about women feeling comfortable in their sexuality and being able to ask for what they want when they're having sex, which is important because we were like 15, right? 15, 16 years old. So, yeah, I think that was very important. One thing I do think, though, that is probably more important, when this album came out in 94, the references to HIV/AIDS, I feel like that's died down a lot. And I'm not in public health or anything like that, but from what I understand, because there's so many more people living with HIV/AIDS, there's less of a conversation around the dangers about it. I certainly feel like I hear less. And so I think that was important for us too. That video with what was the little rapper's name? Shaheen?
Right, Waterfall.
Yeah, in the Waterfalls video. Was his name Shaheen? Something like that. The little
I remember a young Michael Ealy. Wasn't he the young dude in the video?
Well, yes, I'm sorry. He was on he was the young man, but the one who got killed. That was a rapper named Shaheen.
I know, yeah.
Okay. Big way.